Assalamu alaikum everyone. In today's lecture, we will discuss database management systems in detail. First, let's have an overview of our previous lecture. In previous lecture, we have discussed three-layered ANSI Spark architecture for database and how this three-layered architecture provides data independence. In today's lecture, we will discuss different functions of database management system. Then what are the different components of database management system? Then we will discuss centralized and client-server architectures for database management systems. After that, we will discuss two-tier and three-tier client-server architectures for database management systems. So first, let's have a look on the functions of database management system. So we know that database management system is a software that is used to interact or to communicate with the database. It is a very important part of database system because it helps to store, to retrieve and to maintain data in our database. So the first function of database management system is data storage, retrieval and update. A DBMS must furnish users with the ability to store, retrieve and update data in the database. This is the most important functionality of database management system as it allows us to store, retrieve and update data in the database, which is the main reason why we use DBMS. Next is a user accessible catalog. A DBMS must furnish a catalog in which descriptions of data items are stored and which is accessible to users. So a catalog is very important for any system. A system catalog contains the information about the data that is present in our database. A system catalog may include like the name and data type and size of the data items that are stored in our database, names of the relationship, information about different data constraints, then the information about the user's authorization, that which users are allowed to access the database, then the access control, that what kind of users are allowed to access what kind of data. Not all the users should access all your data. It also provides information about how to maintain security and integrity in your database system. So the purpose of using catalog is that it can help to maintain all your data information at one place, which helps you to maintain control over your data as a resource. It also helps to keep record of all the changes that are being made to your database, and it is also helpful for the audit information. So a good DBMS must provide with a user accessible catalog. Next is transaction support. This is also very important functionality of DBMS. A DBMS must furnish a mechanism in which it will ensure either that all the updates corresponding to a given transaction are made or that none of them is made. So transaction is series of steps that are being taken to make any change to a database. For example, you are adding a new staff member in your database, or you are updating the salary information of some employee. So these are the different changes that you are making in your database. So these are the transactions. And then there are some changes like you are going to delete a staff member and then you are going to assign his duties to another staff. So there are two changes that you should make. So a transaction process may be interrupted with some system crash. So in that case, some changes are being made while the others not. So your data will become inconsistent in that case. The changes are made to some places while to some other places the changes are not made because of the failure in the system or any other reason. So the DBMS should provide a way so that your database can recover back to the previous state it was before the transaction. Next, we have concurrency control services. A DBMS must furnish a mechanism to ensure that the database is updated correctly when multiple users are updating the database concurrently. So basic purpose of database is that it should allow multiple users to share information concurrently. Concurrently means that at the same time. So it is easy when the users are just reading the data, but when the users are updating the data at the same time, it can become a problem. Like here, this is a lost update problem. For example, this T1 is one user and T2 is an other user. So at time T1, the T2 read the balance from the account. The balance is initially 100 euros. Then at time T2, another user T1 checks the balance from the same account, which is 100. And at that time, the second user deposit 100 euros more to that account. And in the next time slot, the first user T1 withdraws 10 euros from the original balance. So when the T2 user store this information, the balance will be 200 because he has added 100 to the original amount. But when this user will store this information after withdrawing 10 euros, it becomes 90 and it will override this previous information. So this is the problem here, because the original amount should be 190. But because both users were updating the data at the same time, we get some wrong information. So a DBMS must overcome this problem, and it should make sure that the users can access the data at the same time without interference. Next, recovery services. A DBMS must furnish a mechanism for recovering the database in the event that the database is damaged in any way. Like we have discussed in transaction control, transaction process can become unsuccessful if there is a system crash, if there is a bug in the software, if there is some connectivity issue. Any problem can occur during the transaction and our data will become inconsistent. So DBMS must provide with the recovery services so that the database can bring back or can recover to the original consistent state before the transaction. It should actually undo all the changes that are being made by the unsuccessful transaction. Next, authorization services. A DBMS must furnish a mechanism to ensure that only authorized users can access the database. So, of course, we don't want that all the users can access all our data. For example, the salary information of the employees should be accessible only by the accounts departments. Not all the employees of that particular organization should see that information. So DBMS must provide the authorization services that which users are allowed to access your database and what kind of data they can access. Next is support for data communication. A DBMS must be capable of integrating with communication software. So different users can access the DBMS with workstations. So sometimes the workstations will be directly connected to the computer which is hosting DBMS, while in other cases the workstations will be accessing the DBMS remotely. In both cases, there is some communication messages coming to the DBMS and then it will respond. Actually, data communication manager controls all these type of transmission. A DBMS must be capable of being integrated with different data control managers, DCMs. If you are using DBMS personally at the personal level, so it should be able to run on the local host. Next, we have integrity services. A DBMS must furnish a means to ensure that both the data in the database and changes to the data follow certain rules. We have discussed about integrity before. Integrity means the correctness and consistency of data. So the data should be consistent, it should be updated everywhere, and the data should be correct. Like if there is a constraint on salary, that the salary should be less than 50,000. So no user can enter salary amount that is greater than 50,000. So DBMS should provide integrity services to ensure the integrity of data. Then utility services. Of course, the DBMS would be more helpful if it provides different utility services, like if it provides a method so that we can load or we can import data from simple file system or from other database management systems. It would be very helpful when there is a need to shift database from one DBMS to another DBMS. Then it can provide with different analytical tool so that we can measure the performance of our system. It can provide with the resources reallocation, like if we are deleting some data from the physical database, if we are deleting some record, we should be able to use that storage to store some other information. So there are different type of utility services the DBMS should provide. So these are the basic functions of DBMS. Now, what are the different components of DBMS? So we know that database management systems are very complex systems that should provide all the functionalities that we have discussed before. So the basic component of DBMS are, first is query processor. It transforms queries into a series of low-level instructions. So whenever we want access to the database, we write queries, and that query is converted into low-level instruction by the query processor. Database Manager interfaces with user-submitted application programs and queries. So Database Manager receives the query and check that which records are required from the conceptual schema, and then it transfers the request to the File Manager. File Manager manipulates the underlying storage files and manages the allocation of storage space on disk. So File Manager actually manages the storage, that how the data is being stored on the disk, and File Manager then passes the request to the access methods in case of reading and writing the data. Next, we have DML preprocessor. This module converts DML statements embedded in an application program into standard function calls in the host language. So the DML statements means data manipulation language statements, which includes like you want to read some data or you want to update data, delete data, insert data. These instructions are controlled by DML preprocessor. Then DDL compiler, the data definition language compiler, converts DDL statements into a set of tables containing metadata. So we know that DDL statements are concerned with the creation of database and creation of tables. So those tables are then stored in the system catalog to store all the information about the database in the system catalog. Catalog Manager manages access to and maintains the system catalog. So Catalog Manager is actually maintaining the whole system catalog, how different components will access the system catalog and maintain all the information in the system catalog. So this is the diagram of all the components of DBMS. It actually shows the interaction between the different components. Like here you can see the Database Manager is actually interacting, taking request from query processor and then passing it to File Manager. File Manager then passes the query request to access methods, which passes it to system buffers, and then system buffers communicate with the database and system catalog. The database administrator creates the database schema, and the DDL compiler, because of course when you create the schema, it describes the database, how many tables you are going to include. So all this information is then passed on to Dictionary Manager. Then the application programs, if there is any request to read the data or to update the data, then DML processor will take care of this and it converts that query to the program object code. So these are the major components of database management system. Next, further we have components of database manager. Here this one is further explained. There are different components of this database manager. Authorization control. This module checks that the user has necessary authorization to carry out the required operation. Again, not all the users should access all your data. So this authorization control should check that if the user is allowed to access this particular information or not. Command processor. Once the system has checked that the user has authority to carry out the operation, control is passed to the command processor. So after authorization control, everything is okay, it will pass the control to the command processor. Integrity checker checks that the requested operation satisfies all necessary integrity constraints. So integrity checker actually maintains integrity, like if there is any constraint on the data, that there should not be duplicate values in this suite. So such constraints are being controlled by integrity checker. Next we have query optimizer. This module determines an optimal strategy for the query execution. So it actually determines that the query is being executed in an optimal way. You can say that in a perfect way. Transaction manager. This module performs the required processing of operations it receives from transactions. So if there is any series of actions that are being performed to make a change in your database, so all that processing will be performed by transaction manager. Next we have scheduler. This module is responsible for ensuring that concurrent operations on the database proceed without conflicting with one another. So as we have discussed that DBMS should provide the concurrency control so that different users can access same information or update same information at the same time. So scheduler actually is responsible for the concurrency. Next, recovery manager. This module ensures that the database remains in a consistent state in the presence of failure. So during transaction, if the system fails, the recovery manager should make sure that the system can be recovered back to the consistent state before the transaction. Buffer manager. This module is responsible for the transfer of data between main memory and secondary storage such as disk and tape. So buffer manager actually transfers the data between the main memory and the hard disk when the request is made to access the data. This is the diagram for all the components of data manager that we have discussed before and how they are communicating with each other. Next is centralized database management's architecture. So initially the user used to access database with the computers that are being used only for display. Like there is no processing power of those computers. All the functionality was provided by one system that also hosts a DBMS. A centralized DBMS in which all the DBMS functionality, application program, execution and user interface processing were carried out on one machine. So in centralized database management architecture, all the functionality of database management system, the application program, the user interface, everything is residing on one system. That is why it is called centralized database management architecture. At the user side, there are just monitors to display that information. So everything is being controlled by the one system that is hosting the database management system. So when the hardware cost became cheaper and the end user started to purchase the computer systems with processing power, then the DBMS started to take advantage of the processing power at the user interface, and then comes the client-server architecture. So first, what is the simple client-server architecture? So client-server architecture is basically the way in which software components interact to form a system. So in client-server architecture, the different kind of computers, mainframes, file servers, email servers, printer, they all are connected via network. The point is that there are some specific systems for specific purpose. Like if one PC is designated to store all the files information, and that is the file server. So all the computers or all the clients that want to get access to the files, their request is being transmitted to that particular file server. So client is actually which requires some resource, and server is which provides the resource. So when the client wants to print some document, the client will send the request, and that request will be transmitted to the printer server that is designated for this task. So the whole purpose of client-server architecture is to make some systems designated for some specific task, and the clients can access any of those designated systems to carry out different operations. There is no requirement that the client and server must reside on the same machine. They can be on the different machines, and the client can access the server remotely. So here in this diagram you can see there are 3 clients, and they are connected with the local area network, and with this network they are accessing the server with the DBMS. So in case of database systems, we designate a separate system, a server, to host DBMS. It actually started using the processing power which is available at the user system. First, we have 2 types of client-server architecture. The software components are distributed over 2 systems, client and server. So actually the functionality is being distributed between 2 levels. The user interface programs and application programs can run on the client side, DBMS can run on the other side. So the first things that shifted to the user side was application program and interface programs. As we have seen in the centralized system, everything is being done or being controlled by one system. But in 2-tier client-server architecture, the user interface and application programs shifted to the user side or the client side. It will take care of the application programs and user interface. And at the server side, it will actually host the database management system. So here we have client has the user interface and application program to interact with the database server. So whenever it wants to access data, it will send request to this server, and this server will allow access to the database because it is hosting DBMS. Then came the 3-tier client-server architecture. So in 3 client-server architecture, another layer is introduced between the client side and the server side. This layer is the application server. So what happens at the client side, we have now just user interface. Then at second layer, which is application server, it has the application program or the web pages. So here the client side, it just has user interface and the browser, and the main application program or the web application is running here at the application server. It can provide us with more security, like the application server can check the client's credentials before sending requests to the database server. Then this application server will receive the request from the client, and it will passes this request to the database server, which actually hosting the DBMS. This type of architecture is mostly used in web application. So in today's lecture, we have discussed DBMS in detail. We have seen the different functionalities that DBMS should provide. Then we have discussed different components that DBMS is composed of. And after that, we discussed the client and server architecture for database systems.